Today I'm going to show you how I use a single strobe and a Magnum Reflector for gorgeous high contrast black and white fashion images. Hey everybody, Lindsay Adler here, and I am not afraid of hard light. I love hard light because so often people are so comfortable with just using a softbox or some kind of really soft light that when you use hard light, it makes your images stand out. Plus, when you select a hard light modifier, it can help you get that vintage old Hollywood look. One of my favorite things to do is what I call vintage modern. So there's elements that are harkening back to the past, but then I add a modern twist. And that's what I'm going to do today using one of my favorite modifiers, a Magnum Reflector. A Magnum Reflector is not one of the more common modifiers. However, it creates a really beautiful result. Fundamentally, a Magnum Reflector is like a silver dish reflector, but it's a little bit bigger and a little bit deeper. So what it creates is a hard light source, but it's a little bit smoother on the skin due to its larger size and the finish on the inside. I love using this modifier when I want light that's really hard, really crisp, but also a little bit more flattering on the skin, especially if I'm going for something that feels like it's a vintage shot. So today I'm going to use a single strobe to the left-hand side of the frame using that Magnum Reflector. One of the things that you need to be careful of is that the Magnum Reflector has a hot spot or a sweet spot. Because it's a little bit deeper, it channels the light a little bit more. And so depending on where you place the light, that hot spot, that bright spot, just a couple inches of change will move it from the face to the shoulder. And the same thing with the way the light falls on the background. Depending on how you angle the light, it will change if the entire background is receiving light or if you feather it and part of the background will be in shadow. I personally use this to my advantage. So to make the shot have a little bit more depth and a little bit more interest to the background, I've placed that Magnum Reflector off to the left-hand side and I've feathered the light just a little bit. So that the left-hand corner of the frame is going to have a shadow gradient. It gives just a little bit more interest to the shot. Anytime I do a shoot, I lead with the concept. So what am I trying to say with this image? So where we started is I wanted a little bit of a Hollywood glam, but with a modern twist. The modern twist, of course, is a little bit more modern cut of the dress, as well as her hairstyle, but the lighting is what should bring it back to an old Hollywood vibe. So I already know, because of the goals of this image, that I'm going to shoot it as a high contrast black and white. Now, of course, I'm going to be shooting raw, but I'm going to also be shooting tethered because I want to see how the light looks. When you go with an image that is this high contrast, sometimes in color, it doesn't quite look as good. Sometimes the colors shift a little bit, or the skin isn't quite as flattering as you need it to be. But once I pop to high contrast black and white and overexpose the skin tones, suddenly it looks beautiful and from a different era. Today I'm going to be shooting with the Canon R5 and the Canon RF 24-105 lens. The reason I've selected this lens is that it gives me a lot of versatility, and most of the shots I'm going to be taking today are going to be 3/4 length. So I'm going to crop from the knees and above. Now, speaking of cropping, I want to talk a little bit about posing. In this image, a lot of her body is going to fall to shadow, and that's because the light has been placed to the far left-hand side of the frame, which means everything to the opposite is going to fall to a really deep black. Now, a lot of times you don't want your shadows to have no detail, but in this case, I'm going to pump that contrast and I want them to go solid black. What that means is that her body is going to be a little bit more in silhouette, which means that the pose needs to be spot on and perfect. And for that reason, I'm going to have my subject position her knee so that it crosses over her body and creates what's called a narrowing point at her knees. What that results in is this beautiful hourglass shape, which creates more interest and creates a composition with the position of her body. Next, I'm going to position her arms to give me a little bit of negative space, and then it's all about expression and mood to help channel that glamorous Hollywood look. We've got the beautiful styling, the perfect position of the light, the ideal feathering of the light, and now it's time to get the shot and that beautiful pose and expression. All right, give me a lot of drama, give me a little bit of a lean. Oh, beautiful. at these shots, I think they have a timeless feel because they are incorporating some modern elements of styling, but they are definitely drawing upon the lighting and the timelessness of the past. So if you'd like to see the gear that I used in making these images, be sure to check out the links in the description below and visit Adorama.com. And of course, if you like these videos, you're going to want to subscribe because I have so many more of these coming your way. And by the way, if you want to check out some of my premium tutorials, feel free to visit learnwithlindsay.com. See you next time.